Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams.
Where we screen so you don't scream.
We're your host, Alex.
And Stephanie.
And this week we are possessed by a sexy demon in Jennifer's body.
Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new episodes.
Jennifer's Body is a 2009 American comedy horror film directed by Karen Kusama and written by Diablo Cody. The film follows Jennifer Check, a demonically possessed high school student who kills her male classmates and devours their flesh in order to survive, while her bookworm friend Anita Needy Lesnicki must find a way to end her killing spree. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 46% with a critical consensus that states, Jennifer's Body features occasionally clever dialogue, but its horror comedy premise ultimately fails to be consistently funny or scary enough to satisfy. It also has a 36% audience score.
Anita Needy Lesnicki, once a shy and bookish teen from Devil's Kettle, Minnesota, is now locked away in solitary confinement in a mental institution from where she recounts her story in flashback.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Growing up, Needy had been inseparable from her best friend Jennifer Check, a beautiful popular cheerleader, despite their vastly different personalities. Jennifer often belittled and controlled Needy, who admired her too much to protest because maybe they're gay?
Move, I'm gay.
One night, Jennifer drags Needy to a bar to watch an indie band called Low Shoulder. Jennifer introduces herself to the band and offers to buy the lead singer a drink. When she walks away, Needy overhears the band discussing whether or not Jennifer's a virgin. Assuming they're judging her promiscuity, she states that she's actually a virgin. In retrospect, being honest would have saved them a whole lot of trouble, so I guess the moral of the story is don't tell lies.
I can't lie!
During the performance, a fire breaks out, killing several patrons. In the chaos, a dazed Jennifer leaves with the band against Needy's warnings. That night, Jennifer shows up at Needy's house covered in blood, ravenous, and acting bizarre. She tries to eat raw chicken and vomits black fluid before vanishing.
Ew.
The next day, Jennifer returns to school acting completely normal and shows no concern about the fire or the victims. She seduces and kills the school's football captain, luring him into the woods before disemboweling him. Meanwhile, Low Shoulder gains fame for supposedly helping people during the fire, even though they didn't, and they plan to appear at the school's spring dance.
Oh, I'm a star!
As time passes, Jennifer starts to look sick and withdrawn, until she kills another classmate, Colin, by luring him to an abandoned house and consuming him. While Needy is with her boyfriend Chip, she senses something terrible has happened and has a vision of Jennifer covered in blood, because she now all of a sudden has superpowers or something.
On the way home, Needy encounters Jennifer again, but makes it back safely, only to find Jennifer in her bed, seductive and strangely energized. Jennifer kisses Needy, who briefly responds before pulling away and demanding answers.
And historians will call them close friends, besties, roommates, colleagues, anything but lovers.
Jennifer confesses that the band had taken her into the woods the night of the fire and sacrificed her to Satan in exchange for fame, believing she was a virgin. Because she wasn't, the ritual backfired and she became possessed. Oopsies. To survive, she must feed on human flesh. Her first victim was a student named Ahmet, presumed dead in the fire. She admits she once considered killing Needy, but couldn't bring herself to do it because they are totes BFFs forever.
Needy researches demonic lore and discovers Jennifer is a succubus, only vulnerable when she hasn't been fed. Totally relatable because I too am vulnerable when I am not fed.
Get in my belly!
She warns Chip, but he doesn't believe her because of course he doesn't, so she breaks up with him for his own safety, not because she bats for the other team or anything.
Jennifer finds Chip heading to the dance and lies to him, claiming Needy had been cheating. Not cool, Jennifer.
You're not a good friend. Don't call me. We're done.
She lures him to an abandoned pool and begins feeding on him. Needy arrives and Chip wounds Jennifer with pool skimmer, but not fatally as she has fed just enough to heal. Jennifer flees and Chip dies in Needy's arms.
Devastated, Needy breaks into Jennifer's house and attacks her. During the fight, Jennifer bites Needy, but Needy manages to rip off Jennifer's friendship necklace, distracting her long enough to stab her in the heart, killing both the demon and her former friend. In a real bad timing moment, Jennifer's mother walks in to find Needy on top of her daughter's body, leading to Needy's arrest and institutionalization.
I can explain.
However, Needy has gained some of Jennifer's powers from the bite. She escapes the facility and hitchhikes, telling the driver she's on her way to find a band. Crime scene images later reveal that Needy tracked down Low Shoulder and brutally annihilated them in their hotel. Good, they deserved it.
What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Are you ready to talk about our ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, what did you give plot?
I gave plot a 3. At first, I wasn't sure if I was getting the hype since the dialogue is different and the relationship between Needy and Jennifer is strangely complicated to say the least. However, even though I found this plot to be simplistic, I still appreciated the stylistic choices and the unique concept. High school and horror go hand in hand, but I still feel this is fairly unique with the underscoring sexual tension of two female friends and the demon possession brought on by a human sacrifice.
Ooh, very nice.
How about you?
I gave it a 2. I wrote the overall plot is pretty simple but entertaining the whole way through. I find the relationship between Needy and Jennifer interesting from the jump, and it only gets more complicated when Jennifer is possessed. The premise is relatively simple, as I said, but Needy and the supporting characters are likable enough to root for. The end may seem a little silly, but I thoroughly enjoy the story, and mileage may vary depending on your attitude towards quirky dialogue.
It does have like a Juno or Mean Girls kind of vibe, like just a lot of weird phrases, like they call each other like Vagisil and Monisset
Well,
or Monistat.
it was written by Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno, so.
Oh, yep, that makes sense.
Right. So that's where my 2 comes from, because it has that comedic aspect to it and the dialogue is a little outlandish. It's not so weird that you couldn't maybe see people talking like that, but that just, I can't give it the 3 because that kind of really brings the tone down from this scariness aspect. So that's why I gave it the 2.
Yes, it definitely has like this particular style and it kind of takes you out of it at times too if you're not really invested.
Mm-hmm,
You're
yeah.
like, why would they say that?
Right. It is a little jarring. I mean, again, this came out, 2009? So I feel like you don't see that as much anymore. So did you actually know that this takes place in the same universe as Lisa Frankenstein?
Oh, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. Wasn't that kind of like thrown in though after Lisa Frankenstein had already been out for a while?
I
They
don't
were
know.
just like, let me give it a little extra
Probably.
boost.
I don't know that it was going in that they meant to do that, but not that it matters because they don't connect at all. But I thought that was
Right.
a fun little fact because
Yes,
they are similar in tone and style. This
I
is
could definitely
more
see that.
leaning towards horror, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't think of them in the same universe, but now that you pointed out, then I'm like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
guess it makes sense. But it's like a weird, like paranormal version of Mean Girls or Juno. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think for the plot, so Jennifer obviously is bad. However, I feel like what happens to her is almost worse.
yes,
Because,
yes,
I'm like, I
I
just feel
have
bad for her at some
I
point,
have
you
stuff
know?
to say about the villain
I know.
aspect.
That's why I don't want to say too much right now, because it really falls under the villain aspect. But for it does play into the plot as well.
Yes.
So that's where the horror comes for me, at least,
Hmm.
is that part, not necessarily her going around and killing guys. I mean, that's bad.
Right.
That's real bad. We don't like that. However, the scarier part is what transpires after the fire.
Exactly. What did you have for suspense for this?
I gave it a 1. I said there are some good suspenseful scenes within Jennifer's body that build some tension, specifically around Jennifer's victims and the third act scene between Jennifer, Needy, and Chip. However, I found myself more interested in seeing how she kills the victims, and most of the guys killed are just fodder to strengthen the demon inside.
I gave it a 2. I said fairly suspenseful, at least for Jennifer's victims, but I never felt concerned when it was just her and Needy, considering their bond. The most tense moment was when she first came back after the sacrifice, since it's that initial scene after her transformation, and the demon seems more in control. Because she doesn't really speak to her. She's just kind of weird and, and eating raw chicken. So
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. I think, these guys are going to die, and I don't necessarily think they deserve it. But however, I'm like, ooh, I wonder how she's going to take these guys out. It was more interesting in that aspect. I'm like, I know they're going to die. So there's really no suspense there.
yes.
They're going to get it.
And they are lured in such a basic way too. It's not like Jennifer's like, let's go on a date and then we'll go to the movies, we'll go to dinner, and then I'll eat you. It's very let's meet up in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we're gonna do. And then, disappointment
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Right. I mean, it's like a Black Widow spider,
Yeah,
It's
I
really
can see that.
what's going on. I don't know. I hate to say I was rooting for her because I wasn't, but at the same time, I'm like, get it, girl.
Go
I'm,
on with your bad self.
I'm sure they did something to deserve this.
Yeah, I mean, just
You know
being a
what?
little bit idiotic, I would say.
I don't want to jump to the villain because, again, I feel like most of this movie falls under the villain and how it ties into everything else.
Yes.
Especially my attitude towards Jennifer heavily depends on what happened to her and what Low Shoulder did.
Right.
And I'm like, that's why I'm like, all men suck. They all just.
Yes. Yes.
What did you give Atmosphere?
I gave it a 1. I said atmosphere is mostly nondescript school, but I did award it 1 point for the fire scene in the bar at the beginning. The chaos and stampede of people felt very reminiscent of the inciting scene in Thanksgiving, just with like people being crushed and people on fire and stuff like that. It got real dark really quickly, and it
Mhm.
starts off so quirky, like high school
Yeah.
movie. And then
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, people are dying. Lots of people. I was like,
Yeah.
just not expecting it.
Yeah, that's very true. That makes
How
me
about you?
consider mine. Okay, yeah, that makes me consider mine because I gave it a 0.
Okay.
But
No,
now
that's fair.
I'm
I mean,
contemplating.
the bar is a very small scene. So.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stick with my 0. I'm gonna go with my gut here. I said nothing particularly stands out as scary from a setting standpoint in the movie. Several night scenes in the woods may invoke some fear, but overall, it's just a small town.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna stick with a 0. I don't think like anything really adds to the horror element in this movie. So.
I feel like they try, but it just doesn't really do anything for it. Like they have this waterfall or something that they don't know where it ends.
Mhm.
So people are basically like treating it like a black hole, and they're like just dropping stuff in it, and they're like it goes somewhere.
Yeah, right. I'm like,
But it doesn't really play into the plot or anything. It's just like, oh, this happens here
right.
too.
I'm like, that's just some nature. That's fine. It's not doing
Yeah,
nothing. It's kind of
right.
like the forest, like spooky forest. Like, is that scary? I don't know. I guess it just depends on how you view forests. Because like a lot of her killings and stuff take place at night. There's an abandoned house, but again, is that scary? Not really.
I will too. Like, just to circle back to us being like not on the guy's side that die by Jennifer. Colin was an idiot. Like, she invited him over to her house to watch a movie, and then he shows up in this house that is basically still being constructed around him, and he's like, "Yep, this is where she wants to hang out, and this
I
is obviously her house."
right? Doesn't he say something like? He asks, "Is like, is this your house, sir?"
No, it was never her house.
There's like walls missing. There's no flooring. The ceiling's not there. There's plastic
Yes.
everywhere. The wiring's not completed. What do you think?
Right. You had to break in. Like, no, it wasn't her house.
Moron.
Yes.
Again, I don't think being stupid means you should deserve to die, but sir, you walked into that.
Right. Colin is also like a little baby police detective from Smile. I looked it up too. Like, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
like her detective boyfriend in the first movie, and then like he
Yeah.
gets killed off in the second, but yeah.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
No, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I was
Hmm.
like, he looks so oddly familiar. This is my curse, honestly. Every time I'm like, I recognize that face. Here I am Googling. I'm like missing part of the movie. Then I'm rewinding, but it's fine.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even notice. Huh. Look at him go.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little baby guy.
Just a little baby.
What did you have for the villain? I know you're excited about it.
I gave it a 2. Jennifer is a decent villain in the movie, but I would honestly argue that Low Shoulder is way more villainous. Yes, Jennifer does kill unsuspecting men, which obviously is bad, but she was attacked and sacrificed in the name of the devil, so that's up there too. I found myself feeling bad for Jennifer in the end, and I was cheering when Low Shoulder was taken out one by one.
Same here. I also said Jennifer is a decent villain, but I see her more as a victim of her circumstances. She has no choice but to kill to keep herself going. Low Shoulder is the real problem. Killing someone while singing 8675309s is truly diabolical.
So
I was like, why? Like they said, like, hey, your name's Jenny or Jennifer, right? And then they start singing that song, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
what?
And then they
what?
start stabbing her. I was like, whoa. Like, I know what we were doing, but I thought we were having a change of heart for a second. Like,
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, so we're clearly on the same page. Like, yeah, Jennifer's doing some bad things. Yeah, she's possessed by a demon, but it's not her fault. Like,
yeah.
oh my god, no. 'Cause I was gonna say, like, she shouldn't have gone in the van, but that's so victim blamey. Like,
Well, and she was like in a trance. Like from the
mhm,
moment they started singing, like you could just see like this blank stare come across her face. So you know something, is happening, that they're hypnotizing them somehow. And then like the fire breaking out, that's clearly something they're doing as well. So
these assholes. God, but that's like where it comes from, especially like when she's killing off these guys. Like in my mind, I go back to Low Shoulder and I'm like, fuck guy, like fuck them all. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
they are just stereotypes of them, like, or whatever.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's essentially.
yeah, and I don't know if that was intentional on the writer's part, but that's like the sense I got. And you see Jennifer kind of get in and out of like her possession. Like she's still Jennifer, but also not at the same time. It seems like it comes and goes. Like you see glimpses of the old Jennifer, but then she is, being kind of controlled by this demon. And she, to your point, she has to feed to survive.
Yes, otherwise she becomes very not pretty, but for her, which I
Mhm.
think is what Needy said, and I was like, "Oh." I mean, we agree she's still pretty.
Mhm.
No.
Not pretty for her. I did. I think this is less about villain, but overall question for you with the plot, and especially when Needy kind of lets Jennifer go. Like, what are your thoughts on that part? Did Needy really royally fuck up?
I mean, she should have probably called the police because, like, it didn't look like, even though she said that she was gonna go with them, like, it did kind of come off as if she had been, like, roofied or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, like, even though that wasn't the case, it was something magical there. Yeah, when they just kinda, like, picked her up by her arms and, like, tossed her in the van, I got the sense, like, this is a kidnapping, so,
Mm-hmm.
like, why are you just walking home after this?
Right.
I don't know, I think it was basically that she was just going off of what she said rather than, like, the action itself, like, obviously, she didn't think that these guys were good people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was just curious because I found that really bizarre that Needy just kind of like let her go. So I wasn't sure if she too was in a trance like state at any point, but she seemed coherent. So I just found that I don't know if that was just a statement on these things happen and like you don't realize that this could happen to somebody, or if she too was kind of under the villain's trance kind of a thing.
I almost think it's more or less like a stereotype that she was kind of projecting onto her with her being a little bit more sexually adventurous, I
Mm,
would say. Because, when they're in the bar, she's talking about like sexual encounters because, she is definitely not a virgin.
mhm,
Um, and I don't know. I think it's because, Needy is either like jealous of the fact it's not with her or jealous that she is not Jennifer in a way that because I think it's a little bit of column A, column B, that when she goes off with this band, it's just like a typical like Jennifer adventure,
mhm.
like like that's her business. So like not saying that that was right of her, it's just maybe that's kind of how she saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just kind of conflicted by that part because I'm like, well, this is something she does, I don't want to say regularly, but has done in the past that you don't think
Yes.
anything of it.
Hmm.
Like, would you stop her? I don't know. But,
I mean, I probably would, but I don't know. I guess you could also say that trying to stop her is trying to like get in your friend's business, like if she
mhm,
wants to go with them, she's, capable
mhm,
apparently.
right. Yeah. I just thought that was just an interesting part.
Yeah, I do think it comes across more or less them taking her really than her actually agreeing to go, even though she kind of says she wants to go with them.
Hmm. Yeah. But Low Shoulder was the assholes here. They're the bad guys. They're the
Yes.
real bad guys.
I was really hoping that they were going to not be as famous as they were. Like, I didn't understand, like, even though they didn't have a virgin to sacrifice, it still sort of worked for them when it just kind of fell back on Jennifer for
I
being
know.
there. Like,
I
I was
know.
like,
It's
I
like,
want them to suck. Like,
right. So at the end, whoever's doing the sacrificing, it doesn't really matter if you have a virgin or not, because your wish still gets granted. It's really just your victim that kind of suffers.
yeah, like, that's not fair at all.
No, it's not. What the hell?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad that they got taken out at the end, but I was also like, I don't want them to be very famous now that they've done this terrible thing
Mm-hmm.
to Jennifer. But
No, but it's
here
okay.
we are.
Needy killed her, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Did you give this movie your extra special point?
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think when I kind of was totaling up my points, that I think it is a little scarier than what was just initially totaled. So I did want to give it that extra point to kind of bump it up because it is a scary premise, especially what happens to Jennifer that we talked about a lot. And then she's kind of scary too. I mean, she's really
Yeah.
strong and she disembowels these people like
Right.
pretty bad.
It's aggressive.
Hmm.
I also gave it my extra point. I think it's kind of like a time capsule piece, honestly, because like it's so 2009,
Hmm.
and then just to go back and watch something and like I haven't seen it felt very like high school, like flashback to me. I enjoyed it in that way. I thought it was kind of like reopening some nostalgia.
Yeah, 2009, we were about in high school. Yeah,
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
been my junior, senior year. So we were basically the age of these characters. Oh,
yeah. I don't know why I didn't ever really got around to seeing it at the time, but yeah.
this is your first time seeing it?
Oh yeah, that's why I
Oh,
was like, oh, it was like very interesting stylistic choice because I haven't seen this.
yeah, cool. So you liked it overall?
Yeah, like and I had to sit with it for a little bit because I was like, "I'm not sure if I get it."
Oh, okay.
But not like get it, but you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
like it's very different from what you see nowadays, so
Yeah, it was kind of irritating because I remember when this movie came out, I saw it around then, and the movie you actually get and the movie you thought it was, I feel were different because what ended up happening is they marketed it towards young men because, ooh, Megan Fox, we could really,
Oh, yeah.
but like you watch the movie and that's not really the point of it. You
No,
know,
no.
there's all these underlying messages and stuff.
Maybe wanting to see Megan Fox and Amanda Siegfried or whatever her name is.
Seyfried.
Seyfried, make out, maybe that's part of it, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
they definitely heavily relied on that for the marketing, but again, that wasn't like the intent of the movie
Right,
kind of a thing.
right.
So, and I think that's why it did poorly because now everyone loves this movie. Well, not everyone, but like people have come around to it, and now it's like a cult classic kind of a situation.
Yeah, I can see why, but yeah, that's surprising to me that it was definitely advertised towards men when the men are really her victims, and it's not like a sexy time before she kills them, really. She pretty much gets down to brass tacks and
Yeah,
goes right for it immediately.
thanks
So,
marketing for really screwing all that up.
right.
So, adding it all up, I gave it a 6 and you gave it a 9. I feel
So,
good with that.
yeah, I was surprised by how high it was, but
Mhm.
I mean, it is a dark premise, even though it is a little goofy at times.
Mhm. I think just because it is comedic and the dialogue, I think if they played it straight, it would be scarier than it actually is.
Yes.
So I think that tone just really brings it down. And it's still creepy and it has its moments. So I think middle of the road definitely works out for this movie. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show and listen on Apple Podcast or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful. We'll always appreciate it. If you're watching the YouTube version, you could like and comment on this video and let us know what you'd like us to cover next.
You can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye!